Hi, I'm John Little, and this is the ShockCast for Saturday, June 23rd, 2018. And we're going to be talking about insanity. In fact, we are all insane. Read history, any country. All of it is completely insane. Thousands upon thousands of years of complete and utter madness. Read the Bible. How is it possible for the children of Israel in the wilderness to be so crazy as to rebel against God? Read your newspaper. On second thought, don't. The writers of newspaper articles are certifiably insane already. But current events are even more insane. It's as if we have all been overcome by a mass psychosis. And it's also very stupid. Mind-boggling idiocy. The mindless, brainless, knee-jerk absurdity of it all is almost beyond my ability to understand. When Adam and Eve, or should I say Adam, when Adam ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, we all went insane. Yes, the Bible speaks of sin, and I completely agree, but sin is just a shorter way of saying insanity. Who in their right mind would disobey the creator of the universe? Right. Insane. Sin is just insanity mixed with a recognition of God, but I will understand if you need a little more convincing. My first job out of college, and while I was getting my MBA, was sales. I worked for a company that provided networks for businesses. And one of the most memorable principles that I learned was this. It takes 10 attaboys to make up for one OSHIT. That is literally the exact wording. And I will never forget it. In sales, it really does take 10 positive events to make up for one equally negative event. That point was reinforced when I was learning about what it took to have a good marriage. And I learned something interesting. There needs to be 5 positive inputs to a marriage to make up for one negative input. Oh, and here's another one. If both you and your spouse share your responsibilities equally, you will both feel like the other person isn't doing enough. That's right. If you have a 50-50 relationship, both of you will feel like it is not. It is only when you look at the numbers that you actually see that it's 50-50. I say all that to illustrate that we see a negative between 5 and 10 times more than we see a positive, and all that is completely and utterly insane. I don't care who you are, I don't care how old you are, I don't care how smart you are. It doesn't matter if you are a man or a woman. You will see the negative 5 times more strongly than you will see something equally positive. And as I said before, that is utterly and completely insane. And yes, I even recognize this in myself. Believe it or not, I'm a pretty positive guy, but I still wrestle with my negativity all the time. And I have to keep reminding myself that we naturally weigh an insult or some other negative event 5 times more highly than we weigh a compliment or a positive event. Well, this week was lots of insane. Lots and lots, even parking lots. We had the Inspector General report of the FBI that showed absolute corruption in the Federal Bureau of Investigation, but no interest in doing anything about it. Barack Obama was the one to separate children from illegal immigrants, but the insane left is blaming Trump. Oh, and did you know that the IQ, the intelligence quotient, of Americans has been declining since the 1970s? And then, to add insult to injury, I had dishonest flat earthers writing to me claiming that a video that I showed last week didn't go far enough. That video was called Flat Earth Crushed by Discovery Channel. How utterly insane can you be? They didn't even bother to finish the video. And then, this week, in fact, for the article that I am reading here, I wanted to write about a Christian principle that I could talk about without reservation, only to find Christian insanity there as well. And that Christian principle was something that is called historic premillennialism. And it sounds really good, and it is good because it is according to the Bible. Unfortunately, there are historic premillennialists that have gotten in and added their own insanity to the mix. How is it possible for Christians to think that the prophecies specifically given to Israel are now held by the church? How is it possible to be into or believe in replacement theology? Are they insane? Well, yes, they are. So there's Christian insanity. In fact, last week I was trying to do a positive piece about 2 videos. I found that I couldn't, since the person in the 2 videos claimed to be a biblical literalist while proving that he was not. You cannot claim to be a literalist about the Bible when you are claiming things to be true that are not and nowhere in the Bible. How can anyone dare to add or subtract from the Bible and still be sane? There are Christians who believe that we are in the millennium. There are Christians who believe that there is no millennium. There are Christians who believe that a woman can be a pastor when the Bible specifically says that this is forbidden. There are an astounding number of Christians who believe that sex before marriage is okay. There are Christians who believe that you can kill people for Christ. In fact, they believe that we must conquer the world for Christ. Onward, Christian soldiers, so that Christ can return again. And yes, killing for Christ is what they believe. I am truly astounded by the amount of insanity within our churches. We are uncaring, unkind, unloving, and tight-fisted. We barely tithe, and when we do, we give it to a shiny megachurch pastor with a private jet. We can barely sit through a Sunday morning service, and the thought of a Sunday night or Wednesday night service is just too much. Have you noticed how churches are meeting less and less for shorter and shorter amounts of time? We are full of insane notions about the Bible that are nowhere in the Bible. And as I watch the body of Christ in America tear itself apart, I see this American version of Christian insanity reaching Taiwanese churches. Some of these Taiwanese pastors must have spent too much time in America because they have certainly picked up some awful habits. And I should not be surprised, since the worst of American culture has made inroads into this once traditional society. And it breaks my heart to see it. When we first came to Taiwan, probably about 8 years ago, Taiwanese girls didn't sleep around, and homosexuality was hard to see. Now it's everywhere and in your face. And I will be forced to watch it tonight on the way, or actually last night on the way, to the Bible class that Mrs. Little and I teach every Friday night. But the thing that depresses me the most is the willingness of Christians to disobey God. We continually add and subtract from the Bible. We insert our own notions of who God is and how He should act. We chase after teachers, wanting our itching ears to be scratched. In fact, Paul warned Timothy that this would come, quote, "For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lusts shall they heap to themselves teachers, having itching ears. And they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables." Close quote. 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 3 and 4. Yup, that's us. We have turned away from God and turned towards fables, and it hurts to see it. How dare we do this? Please, stop the madness and turn back to God. And as I also do in every article, I ask you, please read my book, Ezekiel's Fire. It's free. And if I'm right, and I hope that I'm wrong, but if I'm right, and if what we see in the Bible is right, that book might just save your life. Now let's get into the research that I did for the past week. The first article is Inspector General Report, What You Need to Know. This one's from Stefan Molyneux, a YouTube video, and it is an appropriately honest and interesting and thorough video. And it ends on an ominous note. Make no mistake, winter is coming. And when you listen to this 27-minute video, you really cannot hold any other view. America's finished. And we all need to get used to that. My hope is that you'll be ready for this. And Ezekiel's Fire, I believe, is going to be a part of how America is finished, if not beforehand, afterwards. Then Devin Nunes comes on with, and this is a YouTube video from Bill Still, and it's actually fairly long for what Bill usually does. And Devin Nunes comes on to say that he intends to do something. In fact, by the time you're listening to this, he should already have been started to doing something. And he says he wants us to he wants the FBI to make a choice, to either be a part of the cleanup crew, to clean out and clean up the FBI, or to be a part of the cover-up crew to cover up the insane corruption within the FBI. I am so sickened by this. I cannot stand it. This is obscene beyond belief. The FBI and the DOJ has betrayed America in the most obscene way possible. It's dishonest. It's dishonorable. It is disgusting. Then in the past week, while this article popped up, while historic North Korea-U.S. summit grabs headlines, 2,300 suspected online child sex offenders were arrested. Michael left this link as a part of a comment about what Trump was doing, and I praise God for this. If Trump did nothing more than put these child sex offenders away, these child rapists, I would be thankful. Of course, Trump has done more than this, and I'm grateful for those things as well. This doesn't make him a good president. That story is yet to be written. But even if he turns out to be a rascal, a rogue, we can still be grateful for these things. Well done, President Trump. Now this one has me worried for those of you who still live in South Africa. It's titled, "The Hitler of South Africa Tells White People He Won't Kill Them Yet." This is from Sovereign Man. We've been here before. Africa has been here several times already. And now we have a new Hitler. To all the South Africans, do you think that this foul fiend from hell will stop killing whites when he has massacred all the white farmers? To my black and otherwise brothers and sisters in South Africa, do you think that he will stop his murderous rampage after all the whites are dead? History tells us that genocidal maniacs never stop unless someone else stops them first. Please, if you don't believe me, believe history. Get out while you can. Then we had just one piece of lying liar media after another. And the amount of lies and dishonesty and dishonorable conduct from the journalists that are writing and portraying themselves on television in a way that's just so wrong was just almost more than I could take. And so we have a bunch of these articles that are starting. So let's start with the lying liars in the media. This one is, and this was an example. This one started out as an example of an East Pittsburgh officer accused of killing Antoine Rose was sworn in hours before shooting. You're probably wondering why I'm putting this here. It's here not because a police officer was acting unlawfully. No. It's here as an example of how journalists twist the news so that what you believe is a lie. You probably thought that this was an example of a bad cop, that this was a trigger-happy psychopath, and that's what this article wants you to believe. But it's not. When you get to the bottom of the article, you find that the kid who had been shot had been shooting at police officers, that there were bullet holes in his car. It was clear that if this kid got away, he was going to kill someone. Police have orders to shoot such people, and I agree with those orders. You saw none of that in the first half of this article, and that's usually all that people read, if that much. And journalists know this. If you want to know why I'm so angry with journalists, this is one of the reasons. What a disgusting bunch of people. The person who wrote this should be ashamed of himself. And then John Cardillo on a YouTube video came up and actually gave some of the facts about this shooting, and actually really gave an excellent expose of who this police officer was, not his name or his identity, but the kind of person that he was. And here it's a detailed and professional description of the situation according to someone who was a police veteran, and that's John Cardillo. And then we quote something from the Rush Limbaugh show. It's titled, "If the media keeps this up, they're going to get somebody killed." Rush Limbaugh and I are on the same page about this kind of journalism that we are seeing today. He said this, and it's really sort of a transcript from his show. Okay, folks, quote, "Okay, folks, I'm just going to say it here. If the media keeps this up, if they keep up generating this hysteria, somebody's going to get killed. I think we're pretty close to somebody getting killed already, and I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not trying to call attention to myself. I'm genuinely worried about the out-of-control aspect of this. The news media is fanning the flames. The news media is leading the way on this. It's again an oxymoron. News media? There's no media. None of this is news. It's a manufactured crisis. That is one of many after Donald Trump committed an unpardonable sin, and that was winning the presidential election. This today is not about kids and the way they're being treated anywhere. This is about Donald Trump winning and these people not being able to do anything about it. Look at everything they've thrown at Trump. They've had full-blown intelligence community, FBI, CIA, DOJ, special counsel investigations, all happening simultaneously, designed to drive Donald Trump from office in 6 months. Close quote. The Democrats and their pet journalists are attempting to start armed conflict in the U.S. They want a shooting war within the U.S. They want people killing each other. They want blood in the streets. They want to stoke the anger of the average American so that they will go out and kill people. We already know this from looking at what they've been doing in the black communities of America. I also know this personally from watching the horrifying journalism that has fanned the flames of war and terrorism against Israel. If the journalists covering the Middle East told the truth, there would be peace. But journalists aren't interested in truth or in peace. So the lies spread and people die. Lies kill. And the amount of blood on the hands of journalists cannot be measured. Uncounted millions have died at the hands of these lying liars. And I want to tell the journalists that may or may not be watching this or reading what I write. The blood on your hands does not wash off. This next one is from Michael Snyder. Is the United States on a road to becoming ungovernable? Michael Snyder says much the same as Rush Limbaugh, and he puts a lot to back it up. In fact, I'm going to take the opportunity to quote several paragraphs from his article. Quote, "The Pew Research Center, Gallup, and NPR have all run polls that show that faith in government is near all-time lows in the United States. A lot of us have been let down so many times, and most of us simply do not believe in America like we once did. Yes, we may still believe in the people or the values that the nation was founded upon, but at our core, we just do not have faith in our governmental institutions. We literally," and that's the next paragraph that I'm quoting, "is we literally have millions of people in this country that truly believe that President Trump is the moral equivalent of Adolf Hitler. and that the Republican Party is a bunch of fascists. Of course, some conservatives have been saying similar things about Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and the Democrats for years. But with Trump, we are witnessing something that we have never seen before. The mainstream media is actually pounding the drumbeat of hatred for our president day after day. And when you say something long enough and loud enough, some people are going to believe you. If you truly believe that someone is just like Adolf Hitler, the logical response would be to do whatever is necessary to end the tyranny. And this is precisely what we have seen from Antifa. Their open embrace of violence is justified in their eyes because of the enemy that they are fighting. Close quote. And then I quote another paragraph, or a few small paragraphs. The only thing that is really holding us back from the mass rioting and chaos on a constant basis is our massively inflated, debt-fueled standard of living. As long as people have plenty of food to eat and lots of entertainment to keep them sedated, a complete and total societal meltdown is unlikely. But if our food and entertainment were to be taken away, the American people are primed for the biggest temper tantrum in the history of our nation. We have never had a president that is hated as much as President Trump, and the mainstream media keeps feeding that hatred on a daily basis. Whatever goes wrong over the next few years will be blamed on him. And the moment a real crisis hits, we will start to see cities burn all over the country. Close quote. And then, Michael Snyder quotes the second President of the United States. Quote, "Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other." Close quote. That is John Adams, the second President of the United States. I hate to tell you this, but America is no longer moral or religious. Now, I'm going to talk about next are examples of what I'm talking about. This migrant crisis kerfuffle, the lies that are being told by the media over the past week. Blaming Trump for what Barack Hussein Obama was doing. This next one is Rachel Maddow Cries. It's from YouTube. So they're lying to you about what happens to the kids that are separated from their parents when they are caught sneaking across the U.S. border. Those who apply for asylum at the legal border crossings do not have their kids separated from them. Furthermore, the kids are housed, those that are separated, in great living conditions, not in cages. The cages that the lying liar liberals are showing are either stunts or the processing centers that kids go through temporarily. Laura Ingraham was more than correct when she said that it's like going to summer camp. In fact, the only thing that she was wrong on was that these kids have better conditions than summer camp. I am sickened by the lying liars of the mainstream media and the Democrats. I really want them shipped off to Sweden. I really do. They like lying liars there. Then it's CNN tries to shame Border Patrol agent, who then flips the script and leaves host speechless. This is from the Daily Caller. Thankfully, a good guy was able to teach CNN a lesson. This guy will never be back on CNN, and CNN will never admit that it's wrong. Good for you, Chris Cabrera. Hard to pronounce Cabrera, but he's a good guy. Now, Democrat, the next one is, this is from Zero Hedge. Democrat admits child migrant crisis was kept very quiet under Obama. Guess who helped the Democrats keep all this quiet? The obscene, self-righteous media. They did this. And once Obama left office, they started blaming Trump for what Obama did. How do journalists sleep at night? Actually, I know. It's scotch and lots of it. Then there's his flashback. Both Hillary and Obama were seen to be advocating separating migrant families with strict border control. Then there's shocking testimony. Civil rights attorney asked Obama to close migrant baby jails in 2015. Another one was the truth about separating children on YouTube. And this was from Paul Joseph Watson. And warning, language alert, F-bombs are dropped in this one. At least I won't be dropping the F-bombs, but Paul certainly did. I don't normally include a video like this, but I am so disgusted with what is happening in America that I'm making an exception. Paul Joseph Watson nails this one, proving that the leftist dirtbags screaming about this issue are complete and utter morons of the worst kind. And he lays it all out in a way that sounds exactly how I feel. These perverted, sick, twisted, hypocritical, sanctimonious, socialist, stupid, and violent thugs, say that 3 times fast, are doing their very best to lie their way into absolute power and turn America into the largest, biggest garbage dump in world history. Isn't it bad enough that we've already destroyed the United States? These greedy psychopaths have torn away at America's foundations until there's nothing left except a hollow shell of what she once was. And now they're trying to knock in the walls of the shell. Those of you living in America do not see changes because they happen to you gradually. But I have the unusual perspective as an expat that has lived in Asia for 23 years. I've spent just enough time on and off in America to see how sickening the moral decay has become. You have no idea how bad things are because everything looks normal. For those of you who do not live in America, you'll need to take my word for it. However, you might have your own stories of the insanities in your own countries. I mean, Taiwan has gotten a bit insane too. It's like, in all of this, it's like someone decided to burn down his home because he liked to watch pretty flames. It's that insane. Then, another one. How the New York Times lies about lies. Obama versus Trump as an example. Just another example of how the New York Times lies. It's foul and evil of reporters of the New York Times and similar newspapers to say all that they've been saying. And I say again, to those journalists, the blood doesn't wash off. Now on to a brighter subject. And this one is actually, it's depressing. Someone gave a prophecy. I don't know whether they had a word from, they perceived themselves as having a word from God, or think maybe it was some sort of looking in the Bible and calculating things. But they said, but the article is titled Summer Solstice 2018, and we just had that a couple days ago. Biblical prophecy claims end of the world on the longest day of the year. This is from an article from a website called Lastly. Not sure where that comes from. Anyway, I get really tired of this kind of stupidity. And it's worse than merely stupid. There's sin involved. This guy, Steve Fletcher, is deceiving others as well as himself, and it's time for people to stop using foolishness like this. How many false prophets will the church tolerate before people start throwing them out? It's time to stop this. It's time to stop listening to them. It's time to tell them to shut up and sit down. It's time to start believing what the Bible actually says. And there's no verse in the Bible that describes a pre-tribulation rapture. And I am tired of people adding to the Bible. If it's not there, don't add it. And adding to the Bible is a sin. Okay, let's move on to other things. This one is Bilderberg and the Digital New World Order. This is from Aaron and Melissa Dykes from Truthstream Media. They talk about 2 important things here. The city called Neom that is being built in western Saudi Arabia, and Estonia. Neom is going to be a project that will create the most technologically advanced city society and city on the planet. It will be AI, artificial intelligence, everything. But notice their cynical comments about Israel. Sorry, but I detest anti-Semitism, and Aaron and Melissa need to stop that. But a more important subject is Estonia, how they have been a test bed for the most advanced tracking and information gathering system in the world. Everyone in Estonia is connected 24/7, everywhere. And they're trying to roll this out to the world. And it is the prototype of the Antichrist system. Right now, it's all via a card that all the Estonian citizens get. But that will fail. So they will have to go to a tattoo. And one day we will call that the mark, as in the mark of the beast. Now there's a group of articles that came out about the Southern Poverty Law Center, the SPLC. And those people are foul and evil, and I'm so glad to see that someone stood up to them and have made them pay. And hopefully it's just the beginning of making them pay. This article here is Majid Nawaz. SPLC apologizes, settles for extremist label, National Review. One way of knowing that you are dealing with dirtbags is that you have to sue them to get an apology. Dishonest, dishonorable, disgusting. That's the Southern Poverty Law Center. And then this one, Southern Poverty Law Center settlement with Majid Nawaz. Quilliam Foundation dings credibility, Washington Times. If you want a picture of someone who is dishonest, dishonorable, and disgusting, it's here. And it's the head of the SPLC, Richard Cohen. Dirtbag. Then we talk a little bit more about what was in that settlement. After SPLC settled Majid Nawaz's lawsuit for $3 million, about 60 organizations are considering a lawsuit against the SPLC, says Liberty Counsel President Matt Staver to the PJ Media. This is such sweet, sweet music to my ears. It is good to see that the victims of the SPLC are getting ready to fight back. They should have done this a long time ago, but did not feel like they had a chance. Now that they see their chance, it's time for them to take it. May this foul and evil organization be taken down and crushed. And then another, serial slanderers, SPLC fund alt-left Canadian branch. And this one's from Ezra Levant on YouTube. Ezra raises an important point here. The foul and evil SPLC are very, very quickly settled out of court. Very quickly. Were they afraid that information about who funds them and how they operate will get out? Yeah, they're afraid. And I like that. I like that very much. Very, very much. And I hope that all the organizations that were viciously smeared by them turn and rip them apart. Their lying lies need to end, and I'm betting that some of them need to go to jail. And then, California judge, Twitter can be sued for falsely advertising that they allow free speech. What a delicious ruling. I love this. Twitter. Someone's going to come and eat your lunch, and it will be so good. Please, if you suppress free speech, you're not allowed to say that you believe and allow free speech. Then there's this interesting study. Study confirms most psychopaths live in Washington, D.C., from the Daily Bell. Now, of course, this is not new to you, and so I'm not going to go into all that. You already know that psychopaths live in Washington, D.C. I find more interesting the fact that the least psychopathic states are, from least to greater, West Virginia, Vermont, Tennessee, North Carolina, New Mexico. Folks, it just might be time to move to West Virginia. Up in the mountains sounds like a pretty good idea. Now then there's this one. And this actually goes back to the article that I wrote and that we talked about earlier. Idiocracy looms? Study suggests IQ scores are falling due to social media central banks. From Zero Hedge. IQs are following? Intelligence scores are falling? Just look at the growth of the flat earth movement. Look at the growth of liberalism. Look at the growth of socialism. But due to social media and central banks? Maybe. But there's a lot more to that. And since I've lived through almost all of the time period in question, I can tell you that TV played a big role in the downward spiral, along with a mindless and mind-numbing public school system. But I just find it interesting that intelligence in America is falling ever since the 1970s. Then we talk about corruption in America. And frankly, it's going to take it's going to take a military takeover to solve the corruption that has grown and taken over the American government. This article, surprise! Taxpayers have been footing the bill for sexual misconduct in Congress. And this is from Sovereign Man. Actually, I've known about this for a while, but it's good to have this repeated. And it shows that America has been corrupt to the core for a very long time. And Simon Black ends his article in reflection of this. Quote, "The United States fancies itself as having the most advanced Republican democracy in the world. But this is banana republic stuff, plain and simple." Close quote. If you're an American, your taxes are helping congressmen and senators get away with sexual misconduct. And probably worse. How does it make you feel? How does it make you feel to live in a banana republic? Then there's another one, and this was infuriating. This was from Bill Still again, and it is a YouTube. Hillary was never under FBI investigation? Why are we not surprised? We need to start thinking about a different meaning for the acronym FBI. And by the way, this all comes from the Inspector General report, where they demonstrated that the FBI, when they were given the task to investigate Hillary, chose not to investigate Hillary. So let me start with a few new name change for the FBI. We don't need to change the letters F and B and I. We just need to change the words that they are associated with. So let me start with a few suggestions that you might want to make for yourself, or use your own. Foul, barbaric, and insulting. Fraudulent Bureau of Insanity. Fetid barbarians of injustice. Flagrant boils of insult. Fascist blundering idiots. Fecal boulders of I can't even keep a straight face. But it's so appropriate. Please make up your own and share your own thoughts on what the FBI really stands for. Please, in the comment section below. And please, no F-bombs, please. We already know that the FBI deserves an F-bomb or two. But for the rest of us who like to avoid having to read such things, please don't. And then I also provide a list of negative words that start with letters A through Z in alphabetical orders, just to help you find the right negative word for F or B or I. If you're looking up for more word combinations, this page might help. In fact, I even found a few others. Frantic barbecues of insolence, failing bulimics, and infanticide. And then, of course, your mother was never mind. Your mother was a hamster and your father smelt of elderberries? Okay. And then there's failing builders of insanity. Oh, I like that one. And then, actually, more accurately, forget being innocent. Well, enough of that. Let's talk about Matthew 24:7. Remember when Jesus spoke of nation or ethnos rising against nation. And we had an example of how Switzerland is going to allow this to happen. Switzerland welcomes radicalization. And my comment, and there goes Switzerland. quoting the article, actually I think I quote 3 paragraphs here. There are approximately 250 mosques in Switzerland, but the authorities do not know who finances them. By rejecting the proposal compelling mosques to disclose who finances them, the Swiss authorities can now remain willfully blind. Then the next paragraph. The Muslim World League is behind a whole network of radically oriented mosques in Switzerland, with the clear intention of spreading Salafist, or the most extreme form of Sunni Islam, throughout here, quoting Saida Keller Mesahli, expert on Islam in Switzerland. And then this last paragraph. Well, I don't know, but the last paragraph in the article. Above all, the Swiss government seems not to have considered the rights of Swiss non-Muslim citizens, who are the ones left to live with the consequences of the government's ill-thought-out policies. Close quote. And this is depressing, because I had considered Switzerland to be a last bastion of sanity. But it appears that Switzerland has chosen the path of craziness and conflict. Way to go, Switzerland. Well, I truly hope that you'll be ready for all of this. A prudent man foreseeth evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. This is Proverbs 22:3. If you find a flaw in any of my reasoning, have a question, or wish to add your own viewpoint, please leave a question on the website or in the comments section below. Your input is truly welcome, and I have noticed over the years of writing that the readers of Omega Shock and now the readers of YouTube provide excellent comments. And those that don't, well, maybe they have an opportunity to learn a thing or two. That's okay. We've all been there. Also, please do not forget to check out and subscribe to the Shock Letter at theshockletter.com. And of course, there is a RSS feed and a comments feed for Omega Shock for those of you that wish to use their RSS feed function. And as always, I hope that you will have a great weekend, and I hope that your pastor will give you the words that you need to hear for the coming week. We all need spiritual sustenance, and so we all need to hear the words that are spoken to us in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. To all of you, I hope that we'll see you next week. So have a great week.